I like UpTown LinkUp. Yes, sir. Hello?
Hello.
Is this UpTown LinkUp?
Yes, it is.
Oh, best program ever.
Come back and be this passionate about this.
How do we, as Jamaicans, then know our history?
5 goating killer weekend time, and him made 3 goat meat.
And remember the elderly that make this possible that everyone, because without the senior.
Who start to dig the post hole when light decides to come in. You never have no sidewalk and you have the bank inside.
Good night, each and everyone. We're having a beautiful UpTown LinkUp show. This guest that we are having tonight is actually a vessel of beautiful memories, for the Hermitage community. And we are open to explore as much as possible. Mr. Parry Hinds, good to have you on the UpTown LinkUp show.
Thank you, sir.
We spoke to quite a number of persons, and they have given us their feedback on the history of Hermitage, their memory, and it kind of brings the community together in a beautiful way. It helps us to have something common with each other, the younger with the senior, and so on. So, welcome, Parry.
Thank you, countryman. And Dean, let me preface by again saying thanks very much for the invitation. It came as a no-brainer to have accepted this invitation because you both, along with your team, by extension, have realized what had been a lifelong dream of mine to do whatever was possible and necessary to consolidate the Hermitage experience from way back when and translate it as best we can into the lives and the future of those up and coming. So I appreciate and thank you very much for this opportunity.
You're most welcome in every way. We also have Mr. Dean Roden on panel tonight, on the UpTown LinkUp panel. Welcome to Mr. Roden.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. Words cannot express, seeing Mr. Hinds and having the opportunity, to have him on this program. And, Hermitage is like a model for the world this year. And we have gone and dig up all the treasure, all our goals, and he's a part of the puzzle that we were looking for. And where I met him, it's like we're on a Zoom show. Can you imagine on a Zoom show with over 200 people? I am all the way up in Connecticut. And so the last minute I said, Parry, said, Dean Roden, that was my neighbor. I was talking like around 40, 50 years ago. It's a pleasure to be here, sir. Thank you for having me.
Truly, the pleasure is mine. The pleasure is mine. Thank you, sir.
We're going to have a wonderful, wonderful chat. You have been a part of our community, the beautiful community of Hermitage, in its glory days, the Hinds. Persons now who are living in the community, when we said Parry Hinds, could you color the name for us?
One who, not unlike themselves, have been raised in what we call community, but something that translated not just in terms of the word community, but in terms of the essence and the context of it. We were essentially family. All right? Everything that we did as a community. We were there looking out for each other, supporting each other, because by and large, the Hermitage I grew up in was pretty much a working class community.
Yeah.
A community of hardworking, dedicated, committed parents, adults, whose commitment was to set a better table for their children, us, than they had themselves. And of course, it is a process of evolution. Each generation prepares the table a little better for the next. The Hermitage that I grew up in was one that I still wake up imagining and sometimes grieving that I never woke up in there. All right, because I still have very vivid memories, fond memories of my youth.
Hermitage is such a it's like a magnet for great people. But first, before we get into it, Mr. Hinds, let the people know who really is Parry Hinds.
I was born at University Hospital. My family moved to H4 Warrender Place at the time of my birth. We lived there for a short while, then moved up to G1. We stayed there until 1967 when we moved down to 12 Abbott Road. And that is where home was permanently.
Yes.
All right. That is where community, brotherhood, friendship, lifelong friendship, bonds, unbreakable bonds were forged. Both my parents, well, my father was the worker. My mom was the homemaker. There were 7 of us as kids, 5 sisters and a brother along with myself, 7 of us as siblings. Unfortunately, the old man was doing what was classic for men in those days, smoke and drink. And it was, unfortunately, God rest his soul, a part of his demise. He passed in 1973. Lo and behold, the world turned upside down, but what we faced was not unique to what everybody else in the community was facing. Life was not easy, but people would never know it because you don't wear your problem on your sleeve. You go through with pride and dignity and self-respect, no matter what your circumstances. And my mom at that time had never worked, but she was forced at that time to have to go out to work, and she did. And by God's grace, we were able to take a few steps up the ladder as the years progressed. And through hard work, drive, determination, ambition, and God's grace, here we are.
1967, that's the time you came into Abbott Road.
Yes, I moved to Abbott Road from Warrender Place.
What was life like in Warrender Place?
You know what? I was much younger then, but I can recall clearly attending Hermitage Basic School. Walking through Mr. White Yard, got across Common, go Basic School. At the time, the headmistress was Miss Goldburn.
Yes.
And Cutie, she's now Miss Clark. All right. When I was a child, she was Cutie. It was Cutie and Pinky who were assistants, Miss Goldburn's assistants. All right. Those were classic days because, I mean, I might be jumping the gun here a little on the conversation, but I spent a lot of time schooling Hermitage Basic School because of Arthur Ellis, right at the corner of Bailey Road and Escarpment Road.
As a who?
Alton Ellis.
Okay. Music in your bones.
Yeah, Bailey Road and Beaumont Road.
Yes, right.
Beaumont Road, right at the corner. Yeah. When I'm rehearsing during the daytime, I couldn't stay still in my class, and I have to come out the road. Yeah. Stand up right in the corner and listen to them. I get in plenty trouble for it, but guess what? It was very formative and influential in my foray into music.
That was before 67?
It was, no. It was right about 67.
Yeah.
Because I was still attending Hermitage Basic. As a matter of fact, it was my last year at basic school because I went to primary school in 67.
Okay.
September 67.
Yes. What was it like after 67 in Abbott Road?
Oh man, glory days. glory days. There were so many influences and so many influencers. Generationally, you had the stalwarts of the community, the Montagues, the Browns, the Rodens, the oh man, too many to mention.
Coombs.
But Coombs next door, yeah. This Powell, Rupee. I had Barry Shavans as my neighbor. Right next door at number 10. I was at number 12. Oh man, Mr. Roddy, Mr. Hill at the corner, Mr. Terry. Oh man, these were men who, for the most part, didn't have a formal education, but that never stopped them from being providers, because they had cultured in them the discipline of hard work and supporting their families. All right, whatever their pastimes were, their primary objective was going out there and working against all odds under any and very many varied circumstances to make sure that their obligations were met. And it was monumental in my eyes as far as certain disciplines were concerned, because with the untimely passing of my father, I had already had certain things translated in my life as far as values were concerned. So those men, and then you have the generation after them who were bigger men to us, man like Tigo and Joe and Bully Ramdeen and them guys. That was the generation between us and our parents who were also very influential in making sure that we stayed on the straight and narrow, because they were young men, man out the road, and them see you slip, them know what them out the road do. They know when you're slipping, so them going to dry you up as big boy. Yeah, man. But it was really beautiful times.
The youths nowadays, I don't think they get a chance to feel that kind of community love from other seniors in the community, you know. And I would like you to they're watching you now. Would you educate the youths today into what to look for in a role model in the community, such as persons like Tigo and Danny Brownie and so on did for you?
You know, in every society, there are influences. It all comes down to choice. The want of more does not yield more unless you do whatever is necessary to acquire more. All right? And principal among them is learning self-discipline and having self-worth and self-respect, because that will translate to a large extent in how you relate and how you communicate and how you are related to and communicated with. All right? And that may sound like a wide spectrum in terms of the statement, but I just use an illustration. All of us who have come from Hermitage know each other and know our individual circumstances. And many of us have left Hermitage and have acquired and achieved more. The opportunities are there, okay? And I'm not discounting the fact that some people just never get a break, all right? But not getting a break does not translate into not having integrity and character and good judgment, all right? So choices invariably is what is going to be the driver.
And I am sure Mr. Roden wants to second that.
Yeah, I thank you, Mr. Moderator. You mentioned something about your neighbor, you know, and we'd like to name something about your neighbor, Professor Barry Shevans.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people that we have interviewed talk about the cultural day, and you know, I say even the youths nowadays, they hear about Barry Shevans they did not know that he was actually a part of the Hermitage community. So maybe you can elaborate, because there's a park and 90% of our people they get their exposed to the cultural day. And you said about choice. It wasn't all smooth sailing, and we all could make that choice, you know, but we still choose what. So when you talk about choice, we could make different choices. You know, it wasn't like it was a smooth sailing 24/7. There were ups and downs, but because of the guidance of our elder and our parents, I would say we didn't have the option, but choose the choice that we have chosen. A lot
of it also comes on to the example that is set by the elder people, the leaders, the older young men and women of the community, because everybody is looking for somebody to emulate. All right? And if the influence that you bring is something uplifting and elevating, you will have some gravitating towards that. Yeah. Not all will, but the converse is also true. If you come with the mentality of easy money, but a rough life usually is the consequence.
Yeah. I want to ask you, Mr. I, who was your role model, that figure that you look up to most in the community?
You know what? There's no one person. And I pretty much have articulated that earlier. All right? Because everybody brought something to the table. Yeah. All right? And there were things about some that you could embrace. Yeah. And there are things about those very same people that you, with your own gift of discernment, realize, okay, all right, this is how far I'll go with this one.
Yes.
All right. So it is an evolutionary process for the individual to be able to use that gift of discernment to see what they will gravitate to and what they will repel.
And as youths, I must give it to us as youths in these times that there was some direction that we look to when we think fun and games. What was that for you?
Oh man, fun and games was every day and everything we did, because it was clean, it was spirited, and it was holistic in a sense, because we had a sense of innocence about us, that we never transgressed certain lines. You understand? But for the most part, we kept each other in check. Whether we go bud bush or we go pick guinea or we go pick mango or whatever it is, we go over the hill where buy live with him Drake at. Whatever it was that we did, whether we went blue hole go swim.
It's a Jonas.
Right? Everybody pretty much kept each other in check, right? Because the last thing I would ever have dreamt of having to contend with is somebody see me doing something and then go tell my parents.
Okay. So you was one of them who might get flagging from somebody who see you. But
it happened, and I beg and pleaded to make it stay right there.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
But you know, my parents were not the flogging kind. They were a scolding kind.
Yes.
You understand? Just a look, and you curl up, you recoil, and drop in your shell, right? And especially after Daddy died, Mommy had her hands more than full. So recognizing and becoming fully aware of how much more load she was carrying, it was left up to us to even then be even more conscious and aware of how our actions was going to translate in the family unit and by extension in the community.
What was it with Augusttown and River, where Parry?
Oh my God! Listen, man. You go a Riverhead, we will catch Janga and pick what the hell them call the thing again? Watercress. Well, you learn to swim in that river, whether you had a choice or not, because everybody was going in, and there's a point at which if you're not going in, going through inside it, and the only way not to drown is to swim. Right? Oh God, yeah, man. Yeah. Same thing with the university pool. We used to go run track every morning and go take a jump into the pool, and when the security vehicle come down the corner, everybody bail out of the pool and take off. I mean, it was fun days. It really was fun days.
They always say, you know, where your neighbor string cut, you know, it's very hard for you to forget about places like, you know, like Hermitage where your neighbor string cut.
Yeah.
How do you really feel about leaving Hermitage?
I dread, even to this day. And earlier I mentioned waking up sometimes under the illusion that I am right back there, because there's a yearning and a desire for those days and those experiences. Fully recognizing that the world has changed and so has Hermitage. A lot of people have moved on, a lot of people have moved away, circumstantially or otherwise. And notwithstanding that, the glory days of Hermitage can be perpetuated if man them change the psyche, the mentality, the approach, and re-energize themselves positively towards uplifting themselves as a community. And it starts with each individual wanting to be more than just.
Yes.
Just enough.
And also seeing a vision of something in common when it comes to the vision of the community.
And this is where the inspiration that you gentlemen have brought to the table will transcend your years on this earth, because not only are you preserving what our experience has been in Hermitage historically, you're also giving the current and future generation a springboard to take greater leaps beyond where we had gone.
Yeah. You have traveled. I suspect you have traveled actually the world.
No, not the world, but traveled a little. Yeah, a little.
And you have seen communities. You have seen upstanding communities. You have seen all different kinds, I suspect.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you. You know Hermitage. You know what Hermitage is.
Mm-hmm.
Based on infrastructure, what would you like to see your community, Hermitage, have when it comes to infrastructure or any kind of changes in you?
You know, each of us is a catalyst of change, and in every man's dream, he's hero. All right, we have to be objective. We have to be realistic. The infrastructure of Hermitage is one in terms of the physical state. My life's quest, is to be in a position where the changes that can be more enduring should be influenced through education of the youth, because that by extension will translate in how their environment, the environment they live in, will develop. All right. So there was a time whenever I have street lights, we had 1 or 2 lights every now and every probably 10 light posts. All right. Whenever I had sidewalks.
Yes.
All right. It was bank inside. All right. The park was the pride of the community, maintained by Mr. Campbell and Miss Willell.
Yes.
We never had bus service down there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Water was always a problem. We used to go across, dump, go catch a bucket and carry home. The land of wood and water, we have water problems. It's incredible. And the Mona Dam is just up the street. But infrastructure is relative to the mindset of the people. All right. And if
I'm asking the question because we are embarking upon a time that we will be having community tourism in our community.
Perfect.
And based on that, a person who, like you, who have seen many other communities, it would be nice to, just take a peek in your mind as to what would be welcoming to persons from the diaspora to in Hermitage that everyone would like.
A skills training center.
Yes.
A skills training center where it would give hope and renewal of the spirit to the kids leaving school. As a matter of fact, even those in school who might not be very academically inclined will still have some sense of hope, of being, of becoming, with the prospect that they can further elevate and advance themselves by learning a skill. And then we have a community-based skills training center. The days when them teaching home economics at school for girls to become women and women become housewives, them days done.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Women must be trained, or the young ladies must be trained in diverse skills.
Yeah.
The men as well, them all can be mason, them all can be mechanic. There are so many other things that they can learn. Chefing, to so many things in the food service industry, in hospitality in general. All right. And if there is a means by which such an institution can be established and be aligned with, like, say, the Heart Trust,
yeah,
where it is like a feeder for heart, even preliminarily, right? At least the man them wouldn't end up on the corner all day, not because they want to be on the corner, but because there's nothing else for them to do.
And on the contrary, the men on the corner in Hermitage, most of them is working class people.
No, hold on. There was a time, and I won't speak authoritatively regarding today. All right. There was a time when there were just some men on the corner, and you would wake up 6 o'clock and them on the corner, you leave, you're passing back at 6 o'clock at the night, and man, them sit down the same way.
Yes.
Right. And it's not because that is what they wanted to do. There was just nothing else for them to do. And so other elements creep in and became butter to a puss mouth.
Yes.
All right. And
strong parenting and strengthening the youth is a big and immense way for bringing forward a good life for any community.
Yeah.
Cultural Day. I'm saying nothing more. Talk to me about, when I say Cultural Day to you, what comes to mind?
The essence of the spirit of togetherness, family, and community, brought together with commonality of purpose. All right? There was not a dull moment during the entire period of celebration for Cultural Day. It was a week of activity with football and cricket and kind of league and all that kind of stuff. All right, culminating with the variety concert in the park. All right, those were glory days. Yes, and it's something that we look forward to. Other communities saw what we were doing and wanted to emulate the lead that Hermitage has always been as trailblazers. All right. But unfortunately, the last cultural day, while Professor Shevans was giving his all, a lot of what he had worked for was also being taken from him. And we won't elaborate on that.
Yes, yes.
All right. It was a very unfortunate scenario that broke his spirit and broke his heart, and cultural day ended as a result.
Oh, very, very sad. Very, very
yes,
sad.
yes. But it was, and I even now I reflect on the experiences of those days and what it did for us.
But on a positive, and I tell you, it cannot be replaced. And you have mentioned some names and singers that, even though I've been living in Hermitage from 64, to me, and that same park, we have an intention of calling that park the Parry Shevans Park, because I don't think we had realized what until them say we have never realized it until it has left. And I think everyone in Hermitage appreciated. So like 99% of the Hermitage people appreciate what he has done for us. And we would like to have a building also with all those names, and he can also enlighten us more with those singers that you have encountered with, where I might pass on and you might pass on, but we want to leave something in Hermitage in a big enough spot that it can be the Hermitage Hall of Fame.
Yes, sir.
And we want to see all those people can leave the world to come and look in the Hermitage, because, but for me to say that me and you used to play with two of reggae boys, Jimmy Sinclair, right at the corner. You know, people said, now man, you just start them at that, but the legacy will be there, written one who was in Hermitage, you know, and whosoever you can straighten us with, you know, that is not only Dean saying this for the past 30 years when he represent Jamaica, you know, somebody else from a different angle, and, you know, Sean can say, well, you know, I'm not building up this story to tell Sean, because Sean wasn't there. Sean was your neighbor. Sean is living right across the road from you. And if I tell you, who you know, now that we are talking to you, can imagine how Sean has made history. What we have done in the past, Sean has taken Hermitage to the highest level. We are in England, we are streamlining in South Africa, in all of Africa, at least 2-3 times a week on a regular basis, just because of the work that Sean is doing. And this is the history re-energizing in Hermitage that we are strengthening now. The link is even stronger than before. You know, when the Bible says, say not the former days were better than now. The world have identified Hermitage to be a model to Jamaica as a community right now. And that is my job as a diaspora representative, to ensure, you know, despite the negative and all that might be going around, we are using Hermitage to be just natural. We're not gonna polish our thing. It's just a natural Hermitage we're talking about, and the legacy. And Sean has bring a lot of these things out into light. We have digged up people that we didn't even know, all saying the same. The funniest thing is that we rehearsed anything. Interview with Sang Davis, and what you're saying is the same thing Sang is saying. Sasha, all these people, and Sean, I tell you, I give credit to him, and several people around the world, they give credit to him because the work that he's doing, and we might not see it, we're not doing it for pat on our shoulder, but just to prolong the history for the future Hermitage. And the future, because what we're doing is not for Hermitage, it's for Jamaica and a whole. So what Hermitage benefit, Jamaica benefits also.
Yes.
So once again, I want to just take a moment to just thank Sean. I salute you and I respect you, you know, both of you, the linkage of prolonging your history, because what you're saying, we could not download this information. A lot of people talk about Parry Shevans, but you say you live beside Parry Shevans, you know? I mean, these singers, you can elaborate on most of these singers that people only hear and hear. I only hear their records. I didn't know them, but you listener you sing beside them so you can tell us more about your musical experience.
Yeah,
I thank you, sir, for real, 100%. Sir, you always big me up, you know.
Deservedly, though. Deservedly.
Thank you very much. As you're speaking about preserving our history and the cultural day, you know, we spoke to a lot of persons, and when we spoke to Sangi, he made mention of some players who there was some unsung heroes in that cultural day event. Because when we speak about the cultural day, we normally talk about Barry Shevans. This is the name that comes up all the time. But there are some other unsung heroes. Do you remember any of these players?
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. Nobody comes to mind immediately, because I have maintained that Barry Shevans in particular, a lot of people did not know that Barry himself was a songwriter, singer, musician.
Yes.
All right. As far as who else was on, I mean, there were so many people on for talents from the community.
Yes.
I must be honest with you.
Like persons who was in the administrative part, you know, persons like G White, G Black.
Yes.
Persons like that and so on.
Yes. Yes.
All, but you know, I like
David Madden. David Madden is a trumpeter. He played with Bob Marley for many, many years. And as a result of David Madden, a whole lot of other musicians passed through Hermitage, right? Because of Bully Ramdeen's association with 12 Tribe, a whole lot of musicians, Sange Davis, a whole lot of musicians. All right, Alton Ellis, as I mentioned before, Prilly Hamilton. All right, lots of people don't even realize how influential Hermitage has been, how monumental Hermitage has been to Jamaican music in general. Mm-hmm. All right, and the caliber of production that came out of Hermitage, both in terms of instrumentalists and singers, producers, promoters. Generation Gap Band.
Yeah.
People forget about Generation Gap Band. Then used to rehearse right down in Hermitage, right next door to Randine.
Yes.
Right. Oh my God. But memory box overload.
Who is could you tell us about Generation Gap Band? Some of the younger ones would like to know a little bit more about.
They were primarily members of 12 Tribe.
Yes.
So it was a 12 Tribe band. All right. Their members came, members went, but it was Gen Gap. For the most part, there was a core group that remained, and after a while, you know, it splintered because musicians went to work with Bob, to work with Peter Tosh, work with other artists. So the band actually disbanded after a while. But everybody remained active in the music industry, whether from a studio perspective or a live event performances, touring, whatever the case may be. They all played still an active role after they left Gen Gap.
And you yourself as matriculating to a wonderful musician from the community. When did you start your career? Because you tell us everything else about it, and you're not telling us about how great the great Mr. Hinds is. When did your career started?
Listen to me, man. It was quite by fate. In the early 60s, my father, along with the elder gentleman, there was political rivalry, but it was just banter. All right, but there was a political rally in Papine in 1967 with Father Manley, Keeble Munn, and other notables at the time. And for some strange reason, I was called on stage. I don't recall what the circumstance was, but I remember my father lifting me up and putting me on the stage and then giving me the mic.
Yeah.
All right. And I performed for Father Manley, and my uncle was a photographer at the time. How old I was 6 or 7, 6. I think I was about 7, between 6 and 7 years old. All right. But that, to a large extent, was the catalyst, because then people saying, "Boy, you have a good voice," and it kind of
give you some confidence.
It kind of stuck in your head, you know. Maybe I can do this thing. All right. But then Barry Chavans moved next door, and he would always be sitting on his veranda playing his guitar. Now, he was a man who was involved in the Black Power movement. So a lot of the songs that he wrote were radical. But Barry would hear me over my house just singing casually, because between mommy and daddy, them always playing music. So I am singing alongside Barry, cocking me ears one day and say, "Hey, lift me over the bag wire fence and say, come sit down on my veranda, man. Make we sing."
That's all I did.
And Barry would play, and he would teach me his songs, and he would, just randomly play a song and just sing it. So that was the catalyst to a large extent. Then my uncle, my mother's first brother, had been involved with a group called Boston and the Soulites. Wow. They were between Manley Avenue and Hermitage. The guys came from between Manley Avenue and Hermitage. And that was also an influencer. But throughout the years, it became more a part of who I am. I became, because I was so surrounded by music and musicians for all of my life. It was just a natural progression. I formed a band in high school called Sonar One, and we used to play the circuit.
But you formed a band in was that primary school?
No, in high school.
In high school.
Yeah. I used to sing. I used to sing at every event at primary school.
Yes, but tell me, you must have been this top man in school to be creating a band, starting a band in high school. Tell me about how that progression started.
It was a natural gravitation of like minds. People with an affinity for music, beyond just going to choir practice. We had a passion for more than the stoic, straight neck choral presentations. We wanted to do more than just that. And so we would, there were 2 other guys initially, Changi and Bear Smith. I used to be in cadets, so I had access to the cadet drums and the cymbals and all of that. And we improvised. And we had a box guitar, and Bear would play bass on the box guitar while I'm playing drums and singing, and Changi would playing mouth piano.
Yeah.
All right. until we actually got aligned with Fab Five. At that time, they were very instrumental in grooming new talent. At that time, they had also pulled some guys from the Jamaica School of the Blind and the Salvation Army and formed what was called Unique Vision Band. Yeah. All right. And in them fostering younger musicians, they loaned out or rented at very nominal fees their equipment for rehearsals. We didn't have the resources to move equipment. So between Frankie Campbell and Grub Cooper, they allowed us to come into their into their own home. The grub lived there, where they used to rehearse, and we would practice. And then you had them actually showing us how to play progressions and teaching me how to really coordinate the drums and the cymbals properly. So I had some. I got some of my skills from him.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So it all came together. Where we were actually playing instruments and now playing music. So we decided we're going to have a concert at the school hall at Wolmer's. Got the approval of the principal, and Frankie transported the equipment in his VW.
Yes.
To Wolmer's for us. All right, but God bless them guys, man. I tell you, because from there, we became a demand item. We were playing across the school circuit. Paul Blake was at KC, and he would always, from the early days, whenever we're having concerts, Paul was always there performing with us. Mm-hmm. Right, so he had his early developmental years with Sonar One. Even after, well, Bear and Changi was older than me, so they actually left high school, and so the band crashed. But by then I was transitioning into another group that was formed among some brethren from Mona, a band named Togetherness. We did a whole lot of concerts at that time at the Mona Community Center. And it's just like varied links in the chain, one leading to the other, because by association, I became affiliated with the cousin of the then leader of Third World, Ibo Cooper, his cousin Dwight, and I had become friends from probably about 1974, 75, 76. And we formed Togetherness, and out of Togetherness, my association with Third World became more fortified. Really, I'd already left Third World by the time I started my association with them. And I worked with them directly as a lighting engineer. They had a subsidiary of the umbrella company was called Jazz Music. And they had a series of concerts called Transmigration and Explantation. Explantation was the second series. By default, I ended up having to fill in one night with a follow spot. And that transitioned into me actually learning the mixing board and becoming a lighting engineer. So I did lighting for all the major events in Jamaica for a number of years.
And you must have worked with Tipper Dread too as well, yeah?
Oh yeah. Tipper was on the road with them. I was pretty much home base.
Yes. Tipper has passed.
Tipper passed?
Condole, yes, with his family. But it's they're here. Still, some of them are in the States. But I'm so sure that there are a lot of stories that went on behind the scene. And I'm going to ask for them because they are family too. They're like family to me, myself as well.
Yes.
What was Tipper like?
Tipper was the life of the party.
On the road?
On the road, Tipper was the get it done man. He was the man he was the go-to man, right? Tipper knows somebody everywhere. And everywhere Tipper goes, somebody know him. So whatever needed to be gotten or done, Tipper was the man to get it done.
Beautiful.
Yeah, he was the mayor everywhere he went.
and you, Mr. Hinds, most Jamaicans leave Jamaica but still happen to find a Jamaican woman.
Mm-hmm.
You know where I'm going. How do you find this lady from? Where was that? Dubai?
My wife is from Eritrea. Eritrea is north of Ethiopia. Mm-hmm. It's the same tribe, same people, but two different nations. Eritrea shares a border with Ethiopia. It's on the Red Sea. on the much desired Red Sea. And that was a part of the problem between the two countries, Ethiopia wanting control of the Red Sea port. However, back to the argument, it's divine intervention. Yeah. Because the truth of the matter is, traditionally and customarily, these folks stay within their culture. But as God will have it,
Jamaica break all culture barriers.
This one was earmarked for me. This one was earmarked for me right here in Atlanta.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
So you met her in Atlanta?
Yes. A most unlikely coupling. But
tell us a little bit about that. This little romance there.
It's hide and seek all the way until
you're hiding from parents or
community and everything and everybody.
Yeah.
But then there was a point at which boldness emanated through acceptance of each other. And she was the one who actually made a declaration that, hey, this is who I'm with and this is what I'm going to do. So, and she was essentially ostracized for it by quite a large membership of our community. But she remained steadfast, and she will tell you, them love me. So
nice.
Because I realized that it is not what they had thought, right? That I too am like them, human, and I'm capable of just about anything that they are too. So
a bit more about
it made them want to delve more into who we are as a people.
Yes.
And to a large extent, a lot of them have embraced Jamaican culture, the food, the music.
Because of our great ambassador to Eritrea. Besides, we have got a lot more persons coming on board.
Yes.
Very nice. But music, restaurant business, and so on, presently, but what is life for Mr. Parry?
Life for me right now is family, lifelong friendships, maintaining those bonds, restoring those that have been separated through time and distance, as we are doing here right now. Because I tell you, and I've told many people, I'm not looking for new friends. I have enough who know me well enough for long enough that I don't need to find any more. I have associates, I have colleagues, I have people I know. Right? But very few will ever break that bond to enter into the bonds of friendship. Because people today are not people of yesterday, and I rather stick with my people of yesterday because I know what I have and what to expect. All right, life, what is it? It's taking things as they come, thanking God for His mercies and His grace, and the blessings that I have being able to share moments like this with people like yourselves. All right, but above all, here and now, knowing what you collectively are doing for our hermitage, I am boldly enriched, very, very willing to come on board in support of your efforts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hinds. Mr. Roden, please.
When you've been out there representing a community for 30 years and you've been telling all these things, and through Sean's effort and the community, we are bringing people on board to share and be a living testimony of what Hermitage is really like. Now, when it's so you mention Hermitage, people say, what about Hermitage? But it is so unique, it is so different, and you can never understand Hermitage or know about Hermitage unless you were a part of Hermitage.
That's right.
And it is cannot be explained to nobody. You know, as I tell you, I live there, and I would not trade Hermitage for nowhere. I go to Augustine Primary School. I'm a Kingstonian, born a Barbican, so you know, and I spend many nights at Beverly Hills. I sleep at Beverly Hills, so the Beverly Hills don't frighten me. They spend weekends, open front door at Beverly Hills and sleep and look down at Hermitage. So we know being rich life. I've been to community where people asking for my flag. He's the only black person in that community. My flag fly, Jamaica flag fly high. So I've been on camp where we have over 300-400 people, and I'm the only Jamaican. And my pleasure is to go back to Hermitage. And you know, it cannot be explained to one if you have never been a part of Hermitage. And we want to bring this glory to the community. We have a lot of plans for it. We plan to start a scout group. We're doing exporting reggae. One of my mission is to see our young reggae artists get what they benefit or they're doing for reggae music. When I go on these camps, sometimes I go on a camp 20, 30 different countries, and you perform. For me, say everybody bring out a Bob Marley t-shirt, and that's reggae. But would like today Bob Marley get the benefit of those reggae music? There's so much reggae singer in Jamaica. So myself and Sean, we are embarking and exporting reggae. You have a little cafe there where we're gonna bring the scout to go there to do by Zoom, and we just that little community base. We plan to work on the park. It becomes a monument to the world that people can just go in there and see everything that we're saying now for generation to come and just pass through Hermitage. I was talking to a gentleman, and he said he was one of the first persons to start the diaspora. That's in the early, maybe 2000 early. And he said in the 50s, Sunday, there was two things you have to do. Go to Hermitage Park or go to Oak Garden. Yes. That's the thing. Yes. People look forward to go to that park and just be relaxed. So we are in the process of building, bring back that park beyond its glory and the beauty of Hermitage. And if you may, I don't know if we can just, Mr. Moderator, we can have a short prayer for Mr. Parry and the program, if you don't mind.
Don't mind at all.
Dear kind, loving, and eternal Father, once again, as we have gathered here to empower our young and the past and the present, the ambassadors of Hermitage, dear kind Father, we want at this moment, Lord, to bless and strengthen Mr. Hinds and Mrs. Hinds, Lord. Bless his wife, Lord, but his family. Protect and guide them, Lord, as they grow to love each other more and more. But yet, you never forget Hermitage, like thousands of us who have passed through Hermitage. We want to, Lord, empower them for what he's doing with all these ambassadors and people. And as we do, Lord, whatever we may do or whatever they say on behalf of the community, let it be done unto thy will. Amen.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, man. Here you mentioned our Hermitage. We're speaking about Hermitage, but we also must always remember that Augustine,
yes,
our big brother,
yes,
all the time.
Yes.
It's so integral into most of our lives. It's our big brother, and we must always give credence to that. Anything in closing, Mr. Hinds?
I just want to commend and applaud you gentlemen for the efforts, for the visionary efforts. And it is, as I had mentioned earlier, it had been a dream of mine to be able to manifestly do what you are doing. You are ahead of me, and you are doing a phenomenal job. And all I can do is pledge my support in your efforts, because it is towards commonality of purpose, towards the advancement and upliftment of our dearly beloved Hermitage community. All right. So I thank you for what you've done, what you're doing, and what you continue to do. And I ask that God will strengthen you, give you the courage, the fortitude, the will, and the strength to persevere and see it to fruition.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Hinds. And I promise that as long as we're breathing the breath of nature, we will continue to do the best we can do for the Hermitage community, the people in it, and the adjacent communities around us.
Yes, yes.
Here.
I enjoy my pleasure.
And we are speaking to Mr. Parry Hinds from the Hermitage community, a musician, a businessman, etc. Thank you again for being here, Mr. Hinds.
God bless you, my friend. And you have my full support in whatever way I can. God bless and thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
I like UpTown LinkUp. Yes, sir. Hello?
Hello.
Is this UpTown LinkUp?
Yes, it is.
Oh, best program ever.
Come back and be this, passionate about this.
How do we, as Jamaicans, then know our history?
5 goating killer weekend time. And him no eat she goat meat.
And remember the elderly that make this possible that everyone, because without the senior.
Who start to dig the post hole when light decides to come in. You never have no sidewalk and you have the bank inside.